Hey everyone, and welcome to another Zoo Notable. I'm PJ with ZooFit, and this time we have another just incredible book. It was an independently published book by a remarkable entrepreneur and podcaster and blogger by the name of Ruth Soukup. And the name of the book is Do It Scared. And we're just going to dive right in, kicking this off with a quote from the book. Fear has been a very real and active part of my life for as long as I can remember. I'm scared of heights and of looking like a fool. I'm always afraid people aren't going to like me, and I hate putting myself out there or being vulnerable. I'm scared of failing or making a mistake and what that might say about me. All that fear was standing in my way, just like it does for so many others. A big dream and an even bigger fear. And then, inevitably, a huge regret. But it doesn't have to be this way. I decided to stop letting fear stand in my way. It's okay to be afraid, but it's not okay to let fear prevent me from doing all the things that I love. I needed to figure out a way to leverage fear to my advantage. I decided I would just do it scared. Once again, that is from the first few pages of Do It Scared by Ruth Soukup. I discovered Ruth during a weekend writing event for self-publishing or independent published authors. She just has an amazing business structure and, frankly, an amazing book. And if you personally struggle with pursuing or achieving your goals in life, it might be your fear holding you back. Do It Scared is a fantastic and actually a quick read to discover your fear archetype and strategies to overcome those fears. Ruth is truly an amazing, strong woman and a terrific business entrepreneur. There is just so much in this book that I want to share, but I did manage to narrow it down to 5 big ideas and how they relate to animal care and the conservation field. So let's dive straight in and start with big idea number 1, that is name it to tame it. And we're talking about our fears. The first part of this book is dedicated to the 7 fear archetypes. That is procrastinator, the rule breaker, the people pleaser, the outcast, the self-doubter, the excuse maker, and the pessimist. And each archetype has a chapter dedicated to the habits and behaviors associated with that fear, but most importantly, some strategies to overcome it. Now on her website, doitscared.com, you can take a really quick 5 to 10 minute quiz to determine what is your predominant fear archetype. Each chapter being dedicated to each fear archetype, there's just way too much to go too in depth on each and every archetype personally. But I'm going to give you just kind of the main gist. Here are the breakdowns. So procrastinator is basically another way of looking at perfectionist. Wanting things to be absolutely perfect causes us to hold back because we're not quite ready yet and afraid of making a mistake. The rule follower doesn't like to step outside of the lines. Typically, they are the ones who fear change because we've always done it this way. The people pleaser is a typical yes person, not because they're a brown noser, but mainly because their ultimate fear is that they will disappoint others and let them down. The outcast is seen as a rebel and often a loner, but this is because they fear rejection so much that they actually proactively push others away before they have a chance to be rejected by them. It's the idea of you can't hurt me if I don't put myself out there to get hurt. The self-doubter is afraid of that they aren't enough, maybe smart enough, competent enough, experienced enough, etc. They are very insecure and seek praise above all other things. The excuse maker is afraid of taking responsibility. They may fear repercussions or that bitter taste of failure. It's one of the hardest fears to name and accept because by default mode, it is to shift blame to someone or something else. And finally, we have the pessimist who fears adversity above all things. The pain of failure and struggles overwhelms them, and they tend to see those hardships as a stop sign rather than stepping stones. They may be easily discouraged and often get stuck on one particular problem. Now, if you see yourself in any one of those fear archetypes, fear not, because discovering your fear archetype wasn't actually just the big idea from this book. It was the idea that once you do discover, if one of those sounds true to you, then you could get to work overcoming it. Brian Johnson of the Optimized program often talks about turning our faults and flaws into assets. And this is by becoming aware of the problem. It becomes a little bit easier to address it and then to work on it. But if we can reframe our thinking and to use this as an awareness and learning tool, then we can change our entire life. Now, Ruth provides several ways to reframe our thinking to conquer our primary holdback on us achieving our goals. Once we name our fear, we can do what needs to be done to tame that fear. Turn the fear on its head and take action. In fact, action is the best antidote to fear, which is our next big idea. Big idea number 2 is action is the antidote to fear. Quote, you will probably be scared. You will probably feel like you have absolutely no idea what you're doing, or at least some of the time, maybe even all the time. But as long as you are committed to just keep trying, you will figure it out. It's daring to set goals so big that they scare us. Goals that make our chest tighten and our stomachs flutter. Those are the goals that will motivate us. I absolutely love that. Goals that will motivate us are the ones that tighten our chest and make our stomach flutter. If you really want to truly conquer your fear and take control of your destiny, Ruth's advice is very simple. Action is the antidote to fear. Seriously, do something. Take that step, no matter how small it is, towards your dreams. Yes, it's scary, but that's how you know it's wildly important. You actually want those butterflies in your stomach and the tightening in your chest. That's again a signal that this is an important thing to you. And you know what? When you do the things that scare you, you get better at doing things that scare you. Earlier this year, I committed to doing one scary thing every day. Now, it didn't have to be scaling a mountain-sized fear, although I do have a pretty irrational fear of edges. At first, those scary things were often, I posted a video. But after several posts, nothing bad happened. However, this posed a bit of a problem because nothing bad happened, but nothing great was happening either. And that's because I wasn't daring to share the videos that I posted. And that became my next scary thing, promoting and marketing myself. Now, are these things still a little scary? Yeah, sure. I am a people-pleasing self-doubter with a touch of procrastinating perfectionism. It's scary to send my stuff out to the universe. Because what if I fail miserably? What if no one likes my workout videos or my Zoonotables? The quote from poet Aaron Hansen comes to mind. What if I fail? But oh, my darling, what if you fly? Again, just thinking about that idea really again fires me up. We have to be willing to fall in order to fly. Steve Chandler tells us that yes lives in the land of no. We can't get the job of our dreams unless we're willing to be denied and rejected from the job of our dreams. I know it's scary as get all, but the only way we can get over that fear, conquer it, and override it is with acting on the dreams that scare us. And it is perfectly okay to be scared. You don't have to be fearless to go after your big, scary goals. That's actually what true bravery is. Being scared and then doing it anyways. And as the book title suggests, just do it scared. Number 4, big idea number 3, dare to think outside the box. And in my career as a zookeeper, the number one way to truly annoy the living hell out of me was to utter these 6 little words. We've always done it this way. I used to think that these words were to tone down my creative thinking. I didn't think like everyone else on the team. I often dreamed pretty big and asked the question, what if, quite a lot. However, the phrase, we've always done it this way, or some variation was thrown around a lot too. And there is a little value in the idea that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But that saying doesn't provide room for progress. Just because it isn't broke per se doesn't mean that we can't work to improve it or make it just a little bit better. So I absolutely hate it when I heard we've always done it this way. But now I recognize this not as a way to point out my character flaws, because to be frank, I didn't always think all of my ideas all the way through. This was actually a reflection on that person's fear of the unknown. This is a valid and understandable fear. Most humans, most animals in general, are innately scared of what they have never experienced before. This is why we use desensitization training and introduce new items slowly to our animals, because new things are scary. So is out-of-the-box thinking. It's not necessarily against our DNA to go with the flow. There have been many studies that have shown that the presence of peers and or authority, more than 2/3 of people will do what either they are told to do or what everyone else is doing, because it's scary to stand out in a crowd. But progress is made by people thinking outside the box, wondering what if, and being willing to stand out from a crowd. Ralph Waldo Emerson spoke of this in his essays in Self-Reliance. He said, "Isn't it so bad then to be misunderstood?" Pythagoras was misunderstood, and Socrates, and Jesus, and Luther, and Copernicus, and Galileo, and Newton, and every pure and wise spirit that ever took flesh. To be great is to be misunderstood. In other words, if people don't get it, then you are likely onto something intensely great. And if you can take the courageous first step and shine bright as a radiant exemplar, you can not only change people's mind, you can change the entire world. Show others not by your words or forcing them into your ideas, but demonstrate with your actions and dare to think outside that box. And big idea number 4, stop waiting for a hero and be the hero of your own story. And I quote Ruth again, "Stop waiting to be rescued. We live in a culture that idolizes heroes for their daring rescues and dramatic saves. In fact, the hero idea is so ingrained in our thinking that it is hard to imagine a story without one. The damsel in distress has a handsome prince. Cinderella had her fairy godmother. Every great story needs a hero, right? The need for a hero and the desire to be rescued are ideas that permeate our everyday lives. Have you ever found yourself wishing you'd be noticed, or better yet, miraculously plucked out from your current state and dropped into a better one? You don't need a hero. You are not a damsel in distress. Waiting to be rescued won't get you where you want to be. Now, while I haven't read the book yet, I just received Aaron Brockovich's new book, Superman's Not Coming. Now, this particular book is about the water crisis in the United States, but I think the title itself is relevant to every situation, especially when it comes to conservation action. We all want a superhero to swoop in and save the day. We look to our government, environmental agencies, and organizations. We look to popular figures and sometimes are let down by their actions in the long run. Conservation figures, celebrities, and political figures. But here's the thing, folks. As with our bodacious and scary ambitions and goals, conservation isn't going to happen with us wishing for someone to rescue us or discover our talents. Superman is not coming. We have to act. Once again, is this scary? Yeah, it's scary as hell. Do I repeat myself? Yes, I do. It's both scary and overwhelming. But then I am reminded of the hummingbird story. You can see the notes on that powerful book. A forest fire consuming all the animals' homes. The animals flee for their lives and are watching the forest burn. They are waiting for Superman, but what they get is a hummingbird. This teeny tiny bird flies back and forth from the stream to the fire, dropping one droplet of water onto the flames, going back and forth. But while the others are complaining about it's too hard, it's too scary, the hummingbird is doing what she can. And that, my friends, is the most heroic story I know. To inspire change in others by doing what we can. even when it's scary and overwhelming. Do what you can, do it scared, and be the heroine of your own story. And finally, we have our big idea, number 5, there are no mistakes, only lessons. What I've realized along the way is that there are no mistakes, only lessons. Every wrong turn has somehow led me to where I am right now. Every misstep has led to what eventually became the right steps. Have faith that current rough patches will be the future lessons to be eternally grateful for. Now that passage itself reminds me of Tal Ben-Shahar when he wrote about this mentality in Pursuit of Perfect. Failure is an inescapable part of life and a critically important part of any successful life. We learn to walk by falling, to talk by babbling, to shoot a basket by missing, and to color the inside of a square by scribbling outside the box. Those who intensely fear failing end up falling short of their potential, because we either learn to fail or we fail to learn. Now, we don't expect an animal to perform a behavior at the very first training session. We don't expect a baby to walk at their first step. So why do we expect our journeys to go without a slip or a fall here and there? Because no one's life is perfect. And quite frankly, why would we want it to be perfect? The bumps in the road are kind of what makes life interesting. It's what gives us that hero's tale. No one would care about the Avengers if Thanos came to Earth looking for the Infinity Stones and the heroes told Thanos, go away and never return, and he actually listened. No, we care because the heroes struggled. Now, life is your heroine story. So when you struggle and face challenges, that's the meat of that story. That's what makes it so interesting. The important aspect is to learn from these mistakes. That way, they aren't actually mistakes. They're lessons. Everything that happens in life can be used as data. Oh, I didn't get a good night's sleep last night. Maybe it's because I was online watching YouTube really late. Then you can use that as data to make more informed decisions for the next time. Maybe try shutting off the computer an hour before you want to go to sleep and see if that helps. With this mentality, we can either win or we can learn. Even with more pertinent and, scary goals that we fail to achieve this time, we can apply this formula. You didn't get your dream job? What can you learn from the situation and grow to improve? When I was trying to enter the animal care field, I tried out for the same position 7 straight times in a row over the course of 2 years. Each time management rejected me, I found out what they wanted to see, and then I went out to work on improving that skill or experience. And Ruth Soukup says about these ideas, within every breakdown is an opportunity for a breakthrough. And even if we don't know exactly what will go wrong or exactly which obstacle will pop up, we can be confident in knowing that something won't go exactly as planned. As long as we accept these bumps along the way as an essential part of the process, they are a whole lot easier to bear. What would your life look like if you reframed every experience as an opportunity to learn something instead of the time that you messed up? How freeing would it be if you believed in your heart of hearts that there is no such thing as a mistake? Well, win or learn. Or do you like win or lose? The choice is up to you. So that's what I've got for this very empowering book by Ruth Soukup. Ruth is a New York Times bestseller, author, and entrepreneur. She has a website called Living Well, Spending Less, which launched a business, a blog, and a podcast. You can find out more about Ruth and her programs, as well as picking up your own copy of Do It Scared at ruthsoukup.com. And I'm going to end this with just a couple more quotes. This is from Thomas Edison. He says, "I haven't failed, I just found 10,000 ways that won't work." And Aaron Hanson's poem brings tears to my eyes and is a perfect example of why we walk through those fear doors. "There is freedom waiting for you on the breezes of the sky. And you ask, what if I fall? Oh, but my darling, what if you fly?" Ruth says, "There is a fate worse than failure, far worse. a consequence of not trying that will ultimately haunt us far longer than the repercussions of making a mistake or the fallout from trying and failing. It's the pain of regret. I'm convinced that nothing is quite as devastating as having to live with the long-term consequences of wishing you could go back and try again. Ruth also says, you don't have to prove yourself to anyone but yourself. And then finally, Ruth says, action is the antidote to fear. Thanks again for joining me for another Zoo Notable. If you liked what you heard, again, click the subscribe button down below. Be alerted of all our videos that are coming up, including Fandom Fitness, Wildlife Wednesdays, and our other great projects. Thanks for joining me. Have a fantastic day. Eat clean, live green, train positive. I'll see you guys next time.